so different.
Good morning, good morning, beautiful people. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of We Are Not So Different. This morning, as guests, we have Miss Naomi of Planners on Purpose. Good morning, Miss Naomi.
Well, good morning. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I totally understand what it's like to juggle schedules, and I really appreciate your time. So, we're going to jump right in. Y'all know the drill. Find your favorite spot on the couch, your favorite drink, whether it's Kool-Aid or Cavassier, and get in tune with this conversation. So, I want to give you a little background about Miss Naomi. Miss Naomi Tucker is a CMP, is past president of MPI Wisconsin chapter, and account director at Meetings and Incentives Worldwide Incorporated. She has more than 20 years of experience planning meetings and events and loves to write about her learnings in this industry at her website, Planners on Purpose, where she empowers event planners to live a stress-free life on purpose. When she's not planning or writing about events, Naomi enjoys spending time with her family, friends, and getting lost in a good book. You can get lost in
You
a good
can.
book.
Absolutely can.
Okay, so Miss Naomi, every guest I have on, they get the same two questions at the very beginning. First one being, if you had the undivided attention of an audience of your choosing, who would said audience be and what would you tell them?
Mm. Well, I would say the young children, like young kids, and eager learners, and I would basically tell them, to stay true to themselves and to really shoot for their dreams and don't let anyone tell you you can't do anything.
You know what? I think that is so like necessary. And I love picking the brains of my guests and see
Mhm.
like where they come from when it pertains to do these two questions. A
Mhm.
lot of times, and I could be mistaken if I am, please correct me. A lot of times it comes from areas or it stems from places where we felt maybe we didn't get that. So I
Mhm.
don't know if that is your story. But if it is, God bless you for wanting to, can I say, fix or adjust the perception of another child whose story that might be. Can I say that? Is that okay?
Oh, sure, you can
Okay,
say
cool.
it.
So, if you had the opportunity to speak to a younger version of yourself, let's say little 5 or 6 year old Naomi, what do you think little Naomi needs to hear?
5 or 6 year old Naomi. Hmm. I would. I mean, I really had a really awesome childhood. So I'm trying to figure out what I would say to myself. I guess I would say, um, that you're beautiful and that you're loved. And I don't think that's just because I wasn't told that. I was told that a lot by parents and people around me. But I feel
Hmm.
like as you get older, it's just something that you just feel like, hey, you want to hear a little bit more about that and want to feel a little bit more love. I think that there's people can always have more love. And
Heck yeah.
yeah.
And you guys, I know you guys hear my dog barking in the background. This is Gamora's debut performance.
Oh, there you go.
I'm recording from home today, but it's okay. So I just want to let y'all know what's going on in the background. But
Hmm.
yes, you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter if you were told it or if you weren't told it as a child. Every human being needs to hear that because every human being desires to be loved, to be
Hmm.
accepted, right? So it's something I think it's like just ingrained in our DNA. So heck yeah.
Yeah,
You are loved.
you
Now,
are
there you
loved.
go. If ain't nobody else told you today, I told you you are loved, Miss
Yes, you are
Naomi.
loved. Absolutely.
So, planners on purpose. So I have this thing where I stalk all my guests. I do, because
And that's
I
okay.
want to see. I want to see, like, if you just are you walking, are you talking it, are you walking it? So I go and I dabble on your, your social media. I dabble on your website, but one part on your website really stuck out to me, and
Mm,
it said, "I was just like you, overwhelmed and stressed out until I
mhm.
stood up for myself and did something about it. You're just where you need to be. Let me help you." And I was like, I love that. I feel like we could be friends.
Oh,
Like
but
you're
we
like,
are
let me
friends.
help you. And it's like you had this epiphany of self-realization. Like, do you remember that specific point in
Oh,
timing? Yeah? Hit me with it.
absolutely. I've had many of those points in my life, and it's not because it's really because of what I take on. I think sometimes, for me, I could say that I'm very eager, very driven person.
Mm-hmm.
So I take on a lot. I say yes a lot, and to
Ah,
the point where it was really burdening me and really getting my spirits down, and it affected things. It started to get toxic in my work, toxic in my thoughts, and then also just even within my family. I was working way too much. So I know how that feels, and it doesn't feel good. And sometimes you can feel trapped by that. And you just need to, stand up to say, this is not where I want to be. And how can I get out of it? And how can I adjust things in my life so that I am actually living a life of what I want to do? And that's why I say living life on purpose, living it intentionally. Um,
yeah.
so that was the self realization that I had. Um, and I know exactly. I've been
She's
there
like, I can
several
remember
times.
exactly where I was when that happened. Where were you, girl? Were you sitting on the couch? Was you in the bathroom? That seems to be my place of solitude. And I don't know if that's a woman thing.
I was at work. I know for one, I mean, for one of them, I was at work. I, was getting married. I'm an event planner, so I was planning my own wedding. And in
Woo,
addition to
girl.
that, I was I was getting a certification in meeting planning, which isn't a hard feat, easy feat to do. And I was planning probably 250 meetings a year single-handedly because I was working at a organization that we planned probably 2,000 programs a year. So I was taking on a lot, and that really affected me in several different ways. I was looking forward to that honeymoon. Let me tell
I
you.
bet. So did you do that on purpose? Like, did
Yeah,
you? Oh,
yeah. I chose it. Um,
okay.
I definitely chose it. But once you're in it, you do have a self realization of maybe I bit off a little bit more than I can chew, and
Okay.
how can I,
Okay.
adjust this? And it's happened a few other places, in my life. Like I said, I get to places where I say, "Oh yes, I can do that for you. Oh yes, I can do that." And then again, you just get that epiphany of this is a little too much, and what do I need to do in order to change it?
Okay. So
Hmm.
were you, is it safe to assume that you reached that epiphany before Planners on Purpose? Like,
Oh, absolutely. Hmm.
okay, okay, good. I was like, because maybe you might have realized it like while you were like dead smack in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
However you got there doesn't matter. It's how you're there though, right? So
Hmm.
Planners on Purpose. When, where, how? Like, how did it come to be? Once had this self realization, like, look, this is like
Hmm.
too much. Like, where do I go from now? So how did you turn it around, and then how did that turn into Planners on Purpose?
Well, Planners on Purpose is really a labor of love, and it's really evolved over the course of maybe a decade. So I've always enjoyed to like read. I've enjoyed writing. I enjoyed blogging. So I had a blog back in the day. It was called Fireside Chat for Meeting Professionals, and it's taking several different iterations. And it used to just be a place where I would just do blogging and write about the things about events. But as I I just evolved a little bit to say, how can I give back to this community of event professionals, and what do they really need? So I know that event planning is one of the top 10 of the most stressful jobs in the world. They actually are number 6 right now, according to CareerCast, and we're
Wow.
up there by firefighters, by enlisted military personnel, police officers. We're up there with the big guys, and it is a very stressful position to have and to manage. And I feel as though so many people in the event planning world really love what they do. We absolutely adore our jobs. We get to travel, we get to meet different people, but when we're working in the thick of the meetings, very highly stressful. So, how can we take the stress off of the event planning world so that their mindsets are a little bit more content, or even the stakeholders and the customers that we work with, that they have a different mindset towards the industry, which will allow us to live a little bit more stress free? So, that's why I felt like I wanted to put my time as I'm kind of moving forward in my life. So I created Planners on Purpose to be able to help planners with not only just the stress, also with helping them be more productive, helping them be better leaders, and helping them to get through those struggles that they have when they're planning their events. So that's how it came to be.
Wow. And you
Yeah.
said this is developed over the last decade?
Again, I've had a website, and I've been writing and blogging over the last decade, but not really with a real intent. I just enjoyed blogging about whatever in the event space. But within the last year, I think was the more epiphany of saying, what does our industry really need? And it needs self-care, and it needs some more well-being. And
Yes.
there are several people that are stepping up to the plate to do that in the industry. I just want to be one of them.
I know that's right. Let me in. Give me a seat
Yes.
at the table, please. You know,
Absolutely.
I that statistic that you just gave me about being, you said it was number 6 out of 10 of the most stressful positions.
Hmm.
That like blows my mind. Like
Hmm.
no one would ever, well, I can't say no one. I do this, I'm really bad at generalizing. I have, I never thought that, um, event planning would be up there with firefighters and police officers, the stress. Because you think, police officers, they might be fighting for their life. They defend the streets.
Hmm.
You don't know, but and then to equivalent that to the stress that is placed upon an event planner. And I will say this.
Hmm.
So I'm an admin for a director, and so I juggle schedules. I
Hmm.
plan things and blah 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 blah. And it is stressful.
You feel it, right?
I do. So now when you say it, especially like if you're up against it, like you got a timeline, and or if you've planned an event and now
Hmm.
you're juggling all people from different organizations and they converge upon this one spot.
Yes.
So now that you say it,
Hmm. It
okay.
can be stressful. And sometimes it's not just, I mean, it's the logistics of it all, but sometimes it's the pressures that are placed on you by others. And
Hmm.
sometimes it's a perspective that you can't change. So, let's say you've researched all of the ballrooms in town and there's nothing, but then you have a client that says, you need a ballroom. It just has to happen. Well, you've researched all of them. There's nothing. But somehow you have to magically make one appear. Um, and that's kind of the pressure that event planners have to do, and they have to perform and pay attention to these very meticulous details. And it definitely can be highly highly stressful.
And one thing that you mentioned, you were saying something about self-care.
Hmm.
Now I can't speak. I'm trying really hard. Fellas, I love y'all. Please don't take what I say. I can only say it because I'm a female. So I could speak from a female point of view. But fellas, I love y'all. And fellas, I understand that you go through stress. And so I get it. I love y'all. So I say that to say it is my opinion that women, can I say that? Women are not the best at like recognizing and then making like a plan to actually perform self-care, like to be diligent about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah.
something that you're noticing in the industry yourself?
I feel like it could be. It could be. I mean, it's all over the place. The industry typically has has these pressures, and sometimes just because of the volumes that people are dealing with, they are going from one event to another event to another event. So it's really hard for them to say, "Oh, I need to practice self-care now," because when the business is there, the business is there. So we're also working on figuring out 2021 is coming. Obviously, right now we're dealing with, the circumstances of the world, but sooner or later people are going to meet, the world is going to be ramping back up again. And that would mean a lot of these event planners and people in the event industry that haven't been working, they would be reactivated. Well,
Mm.
now what? Because there's going to be an abundance, right, of programming that needs to be done, and probably people are going to be racing to the finish line to meet really, really quickly. So we need to be mindful of how that self care is looking in advance and really prepare ourselves for how do I, in knowing that this really highly stressful time possibly will come once things get up and running, how do I make sure that I'm putting my boundaries up, that I am managing my workload in a way that's going to serve me moving forward. Mm-hmm.
So, without giving away any of your patent like secrets or coach, like, how do you guide someone who is like not even necessarily aware? For instance, and I'm speaking for women, fellas, I love y'all. So this goes for you too. I'm just talking about my own personal experience as a woman. We are multitaskers by nature. We
Mm-hmm.
come home, we work, multitask, and we come home, multitask. If you got kids, if you got a husband, if you got pets, whatever. So you have to wear so many hats, and you're so busy focusing on everyone else, everyone else, everyone else, everyone else, then the need for self-care goes out the window, right? So
Mm-hmm.
how do you take that struggling mother or father or man or woman?
Right. Be inclusive, right?
Yes. How do you take that person that
Mm-hmm.
is having real difficulty recognizing the need for their self-care? How do you guide them to the point where maybe they're feeling guilty about it, or maybe they're like, oh no, I don't have time, or whatever? Like, what is your process of guiding someone to that self-realization?
Yeah, I think it just all starts with, understanding what are you doing, what is all on your plate that you're doing, and then telling them, well, explain why you feel like you need to do all of these things. What is the ultimate goal with everything that you're doing? And it really is a process because you have to list it out and really say, I am taking care of my kids and I'm doing that because I love them. I have to do this project for my boss because I need a paycheck, whatever it be, and really put it out there and then say, well, what do you want? What are your priorities? What do you want in your life? And listing those out and saying, here's what I want. And again, it's aligning those priorities. Where the tough part is people they can definitely say, here are my priorities. This is what,
Mm-hmm.
I want to do. But they allow their responsibilities to overwhelm their priorities. Um, However, I would say that there is a way that you can make sure that they both can coexist. So you can honor your commitments, but then also honor your priorities. And that comes with some work because you can't get to what A to Z without a little bit of work.
Of
So you
course.
definitely have to make sure you're having those conversations that you need to. If you have a project that you know that it's overwhelming for you, then maybe you need to have that discussion with your manager to say, this is a little overwhelming. I need a little bit of support. Where can I garner the support? Or maybe you can delegate it off. Or maybe if nothing can be done, because some people have that boss, right? Some people just have that boss where it's like you have to do it.
Yep.
um, then identify, well, how long do I need to do this for? And then if that's the case, if it's just 2 months I'm giving myself, well then for 2 months I'll have to be at this higher bandwidth, and these things have to take a back seat. But you have to make sure that you're coming back to yourself and doing a self check 2 months down the road to say, okay, it's been 2 months.
Right.
Am I still doing this?
And I
And
come on down a little bit.
come, yeah, and get rid of it. So a lot of people don't do that work, and you can easily get wrapped up into the day-to-day work with
Mhm.
um, and then allowing that to fall off your plate. And a year later, you're wondering, why am I
What
still
happened?
here? Yeah,
Right. Wow.
yeah.
So it sounds like you're helping them find their voice. Can I say that? Like
Mm-hmm.
you're teaching them self-advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's something that is, can I say, I don't want to say, well, I say, I don't think it's preached enough. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to sound like a bully, but you don't want to sound like you getting, like you ain't, you're getting walked all over. Like you should be able
Mm-hmm.
to say, this is too much and somebody respect it, right? But I
Exactly.
guess that maybe there's a fear of people feeling like if they say no, then they'll be thought less of by management or a supervisor or whatever.
And then at some point, you have to think of like, that's okay for me. I don't care. Like, what does their thought and their perception of you, why does that matter? What matters is what you feel about you, and what matters about how you feel about your priorities, and that you're living up to your own true potential. And that should be the only opinion, right? That matters in a respectful way.
Yes.
But
Well, I love how you added that in a respectful way.
in a respectful way. So, and sometimes choices do have to be made. Sometimes people go through that process and they realize that they're just in the wrong job and they're in the wrong career. And perhaps they want to have their own company, or perhaps they want to do this role in this other company. But you wouldn't get there unless you really truly outline what you want for yourself. And the process is really important because it allows you to open up and to be your true self, and not just this robot that's just doing whatever someone is saying to do.
Right.
Hmm.
I can only imagine like the conversations that you're having with your clients. I can only imagine because I would imagine it would include them having to own some things, right?
Hmm.
Own some things about themselves, about their thoughts, about their
Hmm.
own attitudes, about their own behavior, owning the role that they played to get in the current situation or place in life that they are now. And it
Hmm.
sounds like some pretty heavy conversations.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know, I would want to.
And sometimes you need someone to tell you something about yourself, or ask the right question in order for you to understand what you're thinking. Because some people say, oh my gosh, I could never do that. Or I could never talk to my boss or tell my boss that I need X, Y, and Z. Well, what makes you think that? What makes you think that you can't have that conversation? What is in you that feels like you're not worthy of that conversation
Mm,
with your manager? Because you do matter. So it is confronting your own self, and sometimes that can be tough and it can be hard. Hmm.
when you just said that part about like what makes you think that you're not worthy, that kind of like was like a gut check for me. I don't know about any of my listeners out there, but I was like, oh, you know what? Because I can remember so many times where I found myself in various positions
Hmm.
or whatever, and I felt like I couldn't. But why did
Hmm.
I? Why do we do that? Why do we do that?
Well,
That's
because
a
I feel
million
like
dollar
we put
question.
people's we'll put other people's perspectives above our own. We put everyone else up on a pedestal when we fail to realize that we should be on that pedestal. We should value ourselves. We
Are you
should value
preaching right
ourselves.
now? I'm gonna pass you the collection plate in just a second. Put myself on a pedestal. Yes. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Go ahead.
Well, you should. I mean, because everybody has like their own unique gifts, their own special talents, and you know, just talents to share with the world.
Yeah.
And you should definitely recognize that inside of yourself. So, but as long as you're looking at other people and you're externalizing things, you'll never see your own true potential. So, it is really important to do that inward check.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. I love it. I love it. So I'm thinking event planners, and I can imagine them being very sought after. And that reminds me, back up. So I wanted to ask when you're like, oh, I planned my own wedding. And I said, did you do that on purpose? You said yes. So was it because you're like, you wanted everything to be like
Oh yeah, Type A. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's event planners, right? I mean, a lot of us are very type A, very controlling. So that is it- you know, that is something that we have to recognize in ourselves. I always call myself a recovering perfectionist.
A recovering perfectionist.
Perfect, recovering perfectionist because, you know, perfectionism, it's always that nobody's perfect. So
It's
if you're striving
impossible.
for perfectionism, you're always striving for something that is really unattainable, that's not going to happen, and you're putting yourself in that position that, for in the striving position, and you're putting yourself in the lack, right? And yeah, so if you're a recovering perfectionist and you just really try to go, I think, who says that's, I think Brene Brown, she talks about going towards progress and not like perfection, or maybe it's someone else. But that is really what you want. You want progress. You want to do better. You want to be better, but nobody's really perfect.
Nobody. Nobody.
Yeah.
And give yourself a break. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But
Mm-hmm.
okay, sorry, because that was a sidetrack. But I was like, why did she? Okay, so event planners, as anyone can imagine, are highly sought after because if I could throw the money at stuff, that I think that's my forte. I'd much rather throw the money at something and
Mm-hmm.
let the professionals figure it out, right? Got to
You
have the money
think.
though. The money though.
Exactly.
Um, but like you are a coach of an event planner. So it's like, where do the professionals go when they need help? The professionals, oh, the professionals. So I guess I'm wondering, like, are coaches of the coaches, can I say, are they like, how did you find yourself? How did you wind up discovering this niche? Like,
Uh,
how did you get here?
It is a super niche. And I mean, 25 years of just being in the space, there's so many relationships that I have with not only other planners, other suppliers. And in my current role, I manage and operate a team. Well, pre COVID, it was a team of like seven, maybe 60, 70 people that had to put their hands in to touch, let's say, this client that I managed. They weren't all directly reporting to me because that would be insane. But um, just being there for the team and being available for the questions that they had, getting if they got into any type of struggles or any type of puzzle. I love just figuring that out and helping them through something. So I've always been this person, not only in the professional world, but just in personal world where people come to me when they absolutely can't figure it out. And apparently, I'm that person that is like, go to Naomi and she'll help you to figure it out. So it's just something that people have always come to me for. So I figured, you know what? This is something, and maybe I can help others when they're in their tough positions and in their tough spots, whether it be in their career, whether they're working through something in their world. I can definitely help them out. So, and it's not always just event planners. I have good friends that are like that come to me that are like, Naomi, I need help. So
Oh, okay. I'm glad that, there are people that recognize when it's time to,
hmm
you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, right?
yes.
So, but I guess I'm just like thinking because, like I said, where do the professionals go when they need it? So it's like,
hmm
you think they have, because one of the things you said in a previous conversation that they go through a lot of stress that no one is addressing
mm
and no one is focusing on a mindset of well-being. And I
hmm
guess it's like, and the only way I know to think about this is so I'm a church girl. I grew up in the church. And I
hmm
would always think, well, where does the pastor go when the pastor needs prayer?
hmm
So I'll take on the same mindset with,
hmm
your coaches and your life coaches and your event planners. Where do the life coaches go when they need life coaching?
Yeah. Well, I have a business coach myself that I go to and I turn to for help and guidance and advice. And she's been wonderful. She's been able to help me get past certain parts in my just career and in my business and help me focus. So I feel like even the best people needed a coach, or needs a coach. Some of the greatest people probably looked up and had a mentor and had people to look up to and to help them, as they're kind of going through a rough position. So I definitely feel like even a coach needs someone, needs.
Heck yeah.
Hmm.
And I think that's what makes you great. You and others
Hmm.
that do this type of thing is this the realization that I can't do it. I'm not
Hmm.
supposed to do it alone, right? Like,
No, mm-mm,
yeah. So, okay.
absolutely not.
That was really cool. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, how did, because I know you're working with your business and I know you're working with, multiple businesses and different clients, how has the pandemic affected your business?
Oh gosh, it's been devastating. um, Yeah, it's been just devastating. Just looking even through social media at some of the people that I'm close to, and they're just devastated, and they just want the industry to come back. Literally, in the month that a lot of the ruling came down from the CDC,
Hmm?
let's say, for example, I had about 50, 60 programs that were booked out at that time. Literally every single one canceled or it transitioned into a virtual program. But I would say 90% of them canceled all the way out. Um, so when you think about revenue, when you think about just revenue to a company, it was devastating. We lost a lot of great people. There's still a lot of people on the sidelines cheering us on and just waiting for things to come back. But really, it has disrupted the industry in a way that it will never be the same again. There will be new faces, new people. There'll be innovation that's happening. There's stuff happening now that's innovation. Um, but it is devastating, and depending, a lot of people are putting their I guess their concerns on if this will either be cured or there'll be a remedy for what's going on right now, and that if it if it rolls out really well, that could be, let's say, how things get back. But there's a lot rolled up into that.
A lot
I
of
don't know,
ifs.
a lot of ifs, and I don't know how many, if the next 6 months are going to be continued in how they are. I don't know how many other companies will be able to navigate that. So companies are really folding left and right. So we're just hoping to get through it. So it's been a struggle.
Tough.
And the mental health, I think, and well-being of the event professionals is a definite concern. Making sure that they feel supported. They go from being highly stressed out to even suffering probably from a little bit of depression because there's job loss and trying to find jobs and things, which I'm sure everyone's dealing with. But I feel like the event industry has been like utterly devastated. Literally, people are not having events right now.
Right.
Um,
And I can only imagine it going from this place of high stress, from go, 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 to like a slow pace snail crawl. And that in itself could cause a whole nother level of stress, right?
mm-hmm. Or thought, or or just thought, because sometimes when you're a workaholic, because I think a lot of us are, you are able to all the things that you probably should be thinking about, you don't think about because you're working. Well, now that you're slow, you're able to think of those things like, oh my gosh, I do have priorities. I do have things that matter to me. So we are seeing some people take the choices to say, you know what, I'm retiring. This is just a good time to retire. I'm going to retire.
Okay.
Or I'm gonna go to this job now because it's a great opportunity over there. Or I've always wanted to do to teach kids in China, so I'm doing that.
Wow.
I have a friend that's doing that. So it's just been interesting. So the faces of the industry for sure will change as things start to pick up and move along. So
So, what has been your pivot to be able to maintain your sanity and to be able to continue to grow and prosper in this field?
yeah. Um, I love being innovative and creative. It's just something that comes with the space. So I feel like what we're getting is an opportunity to be creative, an opportunity to
Hmm.
be innovative. It's a springboard to what's going to be awesome next, what's going to be best, what's going to be just amazing. So I like playing in that. I think that's just cool.
Like, I
I
like
just
playing.
I like I like painting, and right now people are being asked to paint and make beautiful, beautiful
Really?
painting. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, they're just being asked to take events to the next level, how we meet to the next level.
Hmm.
So it will look a little different moving forward. But I think right now everybody's trying to figure out how it how it will look.
I
Hmm.
would imagine.
Hmm.
So, because it's your nature, right? Do you find yourself guiding others to find their pivot during this situation? Like, people are trying to make ends meet. I understand. Like you said that,
Hmm.
the industry has been devastated, but I can also see you, like your personality shining through its natural, innate sense to guide and kind of growl. Have you found yourself being in that situation, having those conversations with, clients or fellow peers or?
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like it. I have. I just love asking people, what they're doing with their time, what's important to them, and um, you know, are they ready for this new wave of meetings to come? And it's been interesting what people are saying. Some people are saying, you know what, I don't know if I'm ready to go through that again because I've had this break. And then you have some people that are really truly lifers in the industry, and they definitely are waiting and ready to see what's next. So it's definitely has been changing, and I am one to kind of help encourage them to make those decisions because I feel like it's important. It's important for you to live true to your heart and your purpose.
And you're speaking about that. So how do you help them so that they are able to do what they love
Hmm.
and to do it well?
Yeah, it is coaching them, and there's a difference because I can tell someone all day long. I'm a good, I'm a person that can read a room, so to speak.
Hmm.
And pick up on certain things that aren't said. So I can tell when someone really is holding back, or maybe they haven't come into their own, and just asking the questions that allows them to bring up what they want to do. Well, why aren't you doing it? Okay. Well, because of X, Y, and Z. Well, what do you have to do in order to move that away so that you can do what you're looking to do? Well, I guess I need to do this. I think with coaching, it's encouraging people and allowing them to come up with it in their own way. Because if you don't, then it's really you just telling them something, and who really is paying attention when you're telling them something. They need to come up with it on their own
I hear you.
to make the changes that they want. There's a time
True.
for teaching and there's a time for coaching. And I think for true self transformation, that has to come from within, and it has to be a
Yes.
self realization. And people need to be guided to that.
You have to want it,
You have
because
to
no
want it.
one can want something more for you than you want it for yourself. Because then where's the
Mm-hmm.
motivation? Where's the incentive to get
Mm-hmm.
it done? So I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Absolutely.
I know you spoke about your website earlier and blogging. And
Mm-hmm.
did you say podcast as well?
Yes, I do a
What's
podcast.
the podcast, girlfriend? What is it? Share the
It's
name. How long you been doing it? What's it
oh
about? Give us the
oh
tea.
it's you're so funny. It's a called Planners on Purpose podcast. And I know
Okay,
it's just simple.
it's okay. Girl brand.
Sometimes you just need to get it out there.
Yes.
So it's Planners on Purpose podcast, and we're on like all the platforms. And I've been doing it for maybe this is kind of going on 2 years. So it just really focuses on event planners, their purposes, why they do what they do, why they, how did they come to get into what they're doing. I just talked to someone today, and she had a husband that had stage 4 cancer. Um, and she decided to have this company that is now dedicated towards terminally ill and chronically ill people and their caregivers and doing events for them. That's just amazing. Um, so And sometimes people choose the crazy. They choose the crazy because they want to transform lives. Um, and so that's what I want to highlight in the podcast and what the episodes are about.
I
Plus
love
other fun stuff too.
I can only imagine. Wow. Wow. It takes a special kind of calling to do something like what you just described. That takes a a
Mhm.
different kind of human being, a different breed, cut from a different cloth, whatever you want to say. That's what it takes. So you have the
Yeah.
podcast, you have your website.
Mhm.
You mentioned painting. Are you working on anything new? Not just the painting. I was saying, you have anything coming down the pipeline?
Well, I do have a course that's finishing up right now. It's called Stress Less, Plan at Your Best, and
Okay.
it's a course. It's a course that really takes you through that whole process that I was talking about of self-realization, and it's a 7-week course, and we really talk about how to get you from point A to point Z and being able to live and model the life you want to have those tough conversations and really live your life on purpose. So that's finishing up now and looking to relaunch in February. So that's what's on the
Okay.
horizon for me. Yeah.
So wait. So this is a course that you created, like curriculum, all that good stuff.
Yeah,
You better come on here,
yeah,
girl.
it was
Yes, love.
it was a lot.
It was a lot. And your face said
It was a lot of
it.
work. Yeah, no.
But it's
I
going
mean, it's one
well.
of those things again. Yeah, it's one of those things again that, I said yes to, like this is needed, and it's a lot of work, but that is definitely worth it. Just the conversations that are being had and people that are being helped and looking at things in a different way. So
Yes,
it's
awesome,
good, good
awesome.
stuff.
If it's needed, then someone's got to do it, right? I mean,
I agree.
someone's got to do it. Okay,
Somebody's got to do it.
so let my listeners know, where can they find you? Like, this is your time. You do you have websites? Give it to us. Social media handles? Give it to us. Phone numbers? Whatever you want us to know. This is your time.
Well, you can find me at plannersonpurpose.com. And I am on all of the things. So you can find me on um, Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can also find me on Twitter and Pinterest at Planners on Purpose. And then Twitter, sorry, is Plan on Purpose. So you definitely can find me on all of the social media handles. I don't do TikTok, but those I do. I do. So definitely go to plannersonpurpose.com and get you linked up.
Get linked up. You heard it here,
Get
ladies and
linked up.
gentlemen. So thank you so much for taking your morning to spend with We Are Not So Different. I really appreciate it because I know just by talking to you that you probably got about 10 other things you need to do before you can call it a night because because you're a planner, right? But I
Because
really
that's what
truly
I do. Yeah.
yes. So I genuinely appreciate you coming to spend time with us this morning.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and it was a joy to talk with you.
Awesome. Well, family, until next week, y'all stay safe and take care of each other. I love y'all. We'll talk later.
We are not so different.